So in the last video, we did part of the interior. We did the dashboard. This time we're going to focus on the rest, the upholstery and the flooring that we're going to be putting in, and seals and sound deadener, that kind of thing. We're going to do that in this video, and if you want to see the dashboard video, you can check the playlist, go back to the last one, and that'll kind of bring you up to where we are now. But this is going to kind of be a standalone video on the rest of the interior. So enough talking, let's get to it. Well, we got a hurricane coming, and that means I got to get this thing watertight. So I've been, waiting at the door like a puppy dog, waiting for my new door seals, and I think these will work. These aren't exact factory seals, so I wasn't sure what I was gonna get. So these are basically the cheapest ones I could order online, and they're a little bit smaller than the factory seals, just a little bit, but they still compress the same, so they should just seal. There's just a little less bulk to them. So let's see how well they fit. They do have the metal insert here to clamp onto the seam here, so I believe that these will work as good as the factory seals. They just have to fill this gap between the door and the frame. So let's throw these on and see what they look like. All right, that is one door seal on. Considering how beat up these door jambs are, that went on surprisingly well. Let's see how well it shuts and seals. Shuts good. So yeah, I think we got a nice seam around there. It is compressed, you can tell, so that's what you want. There's a little bit of a gap down there, but that's not because of the seal, that's because of the door. These doors are not original, and this door, it's like 100% Bondo there, so I don't think it'll ever seal right there. That will work. We'll check after our next rainstorm and see how we did, but let's slap the other ones on and see how that goes. Okay, there's door seal number 2. Looks like it went in on the pinch weld really good. And surprisingly, I even got the seam pretty good here. Now I put it down here at the bottom because I believe, if I recall rightly, that's where the factory puts it, because of the metal plate that goes across here, the kick plate, and that kind of covers it up so that it doesn't want to, flex on you. So, well, let's put them on the other side. So now, hopefully, maybe I shouldn't say this out loud, but hopefully we should be watertight in the whole cab now. I mean, the cowl and all the holes I patched on the body, and the door seals, the wind around the windshield. Back window doesn't appear to have been leaking. I believe, hopefully, we should be watertight now. So we're doing pretty good on the waterproofing. Hurricane just went through, and the feedback I have on that is I'm still getting some water down through here. It's coming from this metal seam right here, which means it's still coming down the A-pillar. I can't eliminate it coming from anywhere else. So I'm thinking maybe these screws need resealed. Maybe when they took this apart, they never sealed the screws back up. I always like to put sealant on these screws of some kind, and get enough water running down over the roof here, you could very easily get water down in those screw holes, which would explain some of the other issues that places rust have developed, that it would be coming down from above. I've definitely got the windshield 100% sealed up. It looks terrifically ugly, but it's got seam sealer pressed into the joint all around there. And the proper way to do that would be to pull the windshield and the seal and put a new seal and, well, probably a new windshield, because it's got some issues in it. But I'm not going to do that, because really the piece of metal around there needs completely replaced, along with the cowl. The metal piece that they make that you buy is the complete cowl and outer windshield frame all the way around, just like the factory piece. So you would take the spot welds out and put the new piece in, and that would have to be done, like I said in the bodywork video and the front clip video, that would have to be done when this truck is stripped down and the metal is replaced properly, which we're not going to do. We're just going to preserve it up until that time, hopefully keeping it from rusting out anymore. So I've sealed the screws that hold on all these strips, and I've replaced the sealant underneath them. Some people take these off on older cars, but if you don't know, they put these on for a reason, and that is that a lot of the rain runs down here and right through this crack, and then it just sits on the door seal, and if the door seal is even remotely loose, it'll go down inside the door. Even if you've got the best door seals, it'll sit there, and when you open the door, you'll get soaked. We're gonna have to wait for the next rain, or maybe run a hose over it and see where we're at, I guess. So I installed this gun rack for two purposes. One purpose, it keeps this window shut. It tends to apparently wobble open just a little bit. It's a little loose in the tracks. Well, it was before I put the gun rack in on each side. That holds it shut. Number two reason is I think there's a law in this state. It's part of the Constitution. You gotta have a gun rack in your truck if you got one. So these gun racks they're just plastic, but they're actually really nice and tight, and it keeps this window shut and hopefully sealed up a little bit. So gun rack installed. We're official now. I don't know if you noticed, but I accidentally pulled the mirror off the windshield the one day. It just kind of fell off in my hand. That happens down here when it gets hot. Put that button back on. I'll put the mirror on at some point, and I put these visors back on. Oh, almost forgot. Gotta put all the finishing touches on here properly. Oh, I need two hands for that. There we go. Brake rubber on. Oh, I also replaced the high beam switch, because that's why the headlights weren't working on the original ride and everything. So even though the headlight switch was old and the dimmer wasn't working right, so I replaced, these are cheap, these are like 20 bucks. So I replaced that and the dimmer switch. So now we've got a whole new system there. And with the LMC truck kit that takes the high amperage direct from the battery to the headlights through a relay. This is just controlling the relay, and we don't have any high amperage DC going through this. So we're gonna try to get the dome light working. Part of that is these door switches, which are completely rusted and shot. See if I can pull that off. It doesn't even. I ordered new ones. Pretty simple. They just, like that. And on these, they even give you a nice cover for it. I will see if I can use that. Bullet connector there. Good. Be careful when you order these and make sure you get the exact same ones, because there are slightly different ones, and there are ones with two connections. Sometimes in later years they wire it a little differently, and some of them have a different length post on here and so forth. So let's do the one on the other side. seems right. Well, we'll find out when we hook up the dome light. So in our last video, I fished these wires through there because I had to replace them. Usually they run through that pillar. It was a tremendous pain in the neck, and I really don't want to revisit that or think about that ever again. Anyway, we have new wires, and we have this light fixture, which is not the proper one. And I found this connector plug, which is just a courtesy light, standard rubber plug courtesy light thing for GM that fits into this. And I don't actually know what this is from, but it's not for this truck. But let's wire this in and put that up, and then we got to connect those wires down there. All right, I have the dome light wired up over there, and I have it wired up to the light. I have the battery in, and that light bulb is working. So let me hit the switch down here. This requires a lot of hands, I apologize. Okay, hitting the switch. Hey, we have dome lights. All right, let's try that on the other side now. All right, on the driver's side. It's hard to do with hitting the switch. Yes, it works. All right, that means my wiring is good. Okay, that was actually, other than fishing the wires, that was fairly painless. All right, let's get that up in position, and then we'll have to disconnect the battery when we keep the doors open. That's exciting. If you've been watching carefully, you may have noticed something and been laughing at me the whole time, thinking I could actually fit this tall thing up there. Yeah, I gotta figure that out. That is not gonna work. Okay, we'll have to rethink that. The dome light, I put a spacer block in temporarily just to get my dome light in place. I gotta get a factory dome light or something for that, but that'll hold it in until I can, yeah, it looks a little janky sticking down there, but it does work. Problem is the two holes and everything don't align, so I can only get one screw in, because that fixture is not made for this truck. If it is, it's got all the holes wrong or something, because you can't line up. There's two screw holes and they don't line up. So anyway, that's in for the time being. I've started putting down Dynamat. I ordered some thicker stuff and some thinner stuff. And this thicker stuff that I've put down in kind of the bigger areas, it's doing a real good job. It reduces a lot of the, oil drum tin can effect. And this is the original sound deadener matting, the only original stuff that came with the truck. I guess it's not even so much sound deadener as it is that goes under your feet. There was probably some up here at one point before the truck went through its first round of work with whoever it was. I think there's usually some kind of matting up here. That no longer existed, and it's been gone. I haven't decided yet what I'm going to do with the door panels and doors. Obviously I have to replace these handles. I was kind of saving those for last because, again, I want to get the truck running and driving. Flooring. Well, I have been waiting and waiting and waiting for my second order of Dynamat to come, and I don't think that it's going to get here. It's been a huge pain in my rear, and I'm not going to go into the details, but the end result is I don't have it. On the plus side, I did not know that the flooring kit I ordered came with jute fabric. So this will add another level of sound deadener. I'm not sure what they sent here, what they include. It's like it might be for the entire cab. So if that's the case, that would be fantastic. I'll use that, and that'll provide not only a little bit of cushion for our feet, hopefully, but it'll provide a nice secondary level of sound deadening. So let's lay this out and see what we have before we get out the rubber and lay that out. Doesn't really come with instructions. I'm gonna have to go look this up. I'm not sure how this is supposed to go. So after looking online, I went to the manufacturer's website, and I did not find this exact truck or kit, but I found an OBS style Chevy. It looks like, it looks like their jute fabric is similar, but this is cut here to go up around the wheel wells. So each one of these is a wheel well. So I guess this is indeed meant to go in the front. I did say you can use spray adhesive, it's optional. I'm not going to use that because jute fabric and spray adhesive make it really hard to work on floors in the future. And I'm pretty sure we're going to be working on these floors in the future in this truck at some point, so we're going to keep it like that. The video I found did not address this piece, but I'm going to assume it would go here. But we've already got something there, so maybe we'll lay it under the rear seats or something as extra sound deadener. I mean, it can't hurt. So that fits pretty good. I'm thinking the weight will hold it down nicely. When it's all said and done, the weight of the rubber. So I'm gonna make this rear one just conform a little bit. Okay, so this one comes with instructions, which I'm going to immediately violate. But it is nice because they label it, this is front forward, so you know. Anyway, the instructions say to lay it out, but not in direct sunlight. Well, I don't have much of a choice because I don't have a lot of space here, so they're gonna have to work. It's hard to film this because my camera keeps overheating and going dead, but I'm gonna try to get as much as I can. I have laid it out and it's been warming up and fitting contours. I cut a little hole to get it over the shifter, and of course I can adjust that a little bit before I cut the final hole and over the fuel valve here. And I'm kind of cutting and fitting. I'm going to work my way back. I'm going to cut along the firewall, get that fitted, and then work my way back. Fortunately, the door sills overlap a little bit here, so you just got to get it close. But they allow plenty of extra for you know, adjustments, so you can trim accordingly. So keep going with this. Well, all the flooring is cut and fitted. It's starting to lay down. It just needs a little bit more time soaking in the heat before it starts to fit the contours. It took me a little bit to figure out how this lays, but they were correct with their label about center. I don't know about front, but or about front, I don't know about center, but I kind of measured kind of this crease on the around the hump, and I kind of centered it on that and the shifter. So I don't know if the, and then I just realized I hope the shifter's centered on the hump. Anyway, I'm sure I got it close enough, good enough for government work. Good enough for me anyway. And of course this seam hides under the front seat. That's just the way they are. I was hoping for more Dynamat to put them back here because this is still kind of echoey, but we can always do that later because I'm making the seat fold forward. So that will be something we can add, and I probably will because this is a lot of echoiness here that I don't want. The floor itself has some pretty good cushioning and sound deadening, especially with the jute added in. So yeah, get some more heat in here to get this to conform. What I'm going to do is I'm going to, since it's not directly in the sun, I'm going to close the doors, and that'll increase the temperature inside and hopefully allow that to settle down into shape. I want it conformed as much as possible before I screw down the edges. So here are the sets of metal trim before I clean them. They're a little bit aged and so forth, but fortunately, like that is covered up by the overlap, and this is covered up by the overlap, and so forth. So I've cleaned and polished them just a bit. It's, you know, these are kind of old and bent and scarred anyway, but I think they'll be good enough. I did put a little bit of aluminum polish on there to protect it from further oxidation. Big problem with these is oxidation, like you see here, that's really hard to get off, but I think this will do the trick. Well, all of my plans with these seats quickly spiraled into the realm of, oops, I can't do that. Although the back bolt patterns are the same, the fronts have bolts down in there. The top, or the rear seat bolts up here. I can't interchange the bottoms. The backs will interchange, but not the bottoms. Also have to repair this line, which I knew about. Have a plan for that. Repair that line in there. But I think I'm going to have to clean up and repair this seat and use it as it is for the moment, because it's not going to go in. I can't even reuse these slider brackets from that truck because the brackets are a little different. If you look at these, see how they kind of turn down there. Let me show you these brackets. These brackets kick up. So yeah, it's kind of the opposite of what we need. I got a lot of figuring out to do here. I'm not sure what is interchangeable, but I can tell you for sure that this seat has to go back in the front because I don't have any other combination of parts that will bolt in. In theory, I might be able to put that seat in just as it is on the sliders. It would just have the slider brackets. I'll be bolting like back here where this stupid seat belt is located. This is kind of bolted in the wrong position anyway. It needs to be bolted on the outside over here, so I don't know, maybe if I take that off. Yeah, because these are in line here. Yeah, maybe I can do that. I can try to just move this whole seat over. It'll just have the slider brackets on. I can try it. Alright, I shortened this wire up on this end and used the extra to make a loop on this end. That way, it's tied together now. It should go now. You know, at least it'll last for a little while. Here's the remains of the build sheet. I don't know if I showed it before. There was more to it before. It just absolutely crumbled as soon as it, you know, even moved an inch. There's half of it already gone, but it is original from what I can see. So these would be the original seats, and for being as old as they are in pretty fantastic shape. I mean, the bottoms aren't even, you know, rusted out like they get, and the frames are really in good shape, so really be a shame to not use them. I'm gonna show you in a bit, but I think I can salvage that front seat. It won't look perfect, it won't look anywhere near perfect, but I'm gonna put seat covers on these anyway. So I discovered something interesting. Well, it's interesting to me. It might not be interesting to, you know, a normal person. So I went to drill out these holes for the rear seats. I drilled, and then I looked down through the hole and I realized there were threads, and that's because they pre-welded nuts on here from the factory. My guess is that all of these back portions, probably from, you know, there down, were made the same regardless of whether it was a crew cab or a regular cab, because that metal was untouched from the factory up here above the bolt. So my guess is, as they went down the line, put the seats in, they just zipped those holes out on the regular cab, and of course the crew cab they didn't. Interesting. just something to keep note of, especially if you're doing something like me and putting one of these seats, a front seat in the rear, complete with the sliding brackets. Well, at least my seat here will be able to slide forward and back, and that will gain me absolutely nothing other than well, I don't know, more space if you fold it forward. I don't know, it's going to be completely useless. I'm probably going to leave it slid back all the time, and I'll show you, but it does slide all the way back so that the top is against the cab, which is actually further back than the other seat was with its aftermarket brackets somebody made, because they pulled it forward for the fuel tank. So it'll be better from a number of perspectives. I am going to try to find a similar seat cover. I can always swap this out, but I'll try to find a similar seat cover for the front seat when I put it in, and then they'll somewhat match from a distance. It says a blue vinyl seat underneath because this truck was blue originally from the factory, ironically. But it's there. I have the cover on because it's, you know, they all get ripped up in here, and it's duct taped back together under there. So seat belts are an absolute mess because they put in two different types and they put them in weird. So the person sitting here, if there's somebody sitting here, is going to have this black belt, and that person is going to have that. It's a lot of work to take these bolts out. There's only one of me. If I had two people, I probably could, but I can fix that in the future if I ever, you know, want my seat belt symmetrical. But I don't care about that because probably not a lot of people are going to be riding in the back anyway. Just the dog. So I got to finish that bolt over there, and then this seat will be in, and then I'll use these holes over here for the seat belt. This is what they had used for their seat bracket, but this is where the seat belt goes over here. So I'll finish this up, put my seat belts in, and then the rear section will be done. Front seat is in. I have a preliminary round of adhesive drying here. The tape is holding it together. Don't worry, tape's coming off. Well, I hope the tape's coming off. I don't know. I've had a couple seats that have been ripped just along the seams. I've actually managed to sew them back together, but they were cloth, not this vinyl that's really old and brittle. It's hard to sew these because of the age. I didn't mention it though. I cleaned up the surround for the shifter and screwed that back in. Cleaned it up, painted it. It'll probably last a week before the paint comes off. You know how that goes. What is next? Oh, next, I guess I got to put this trim in. Oh, I don't have the front seat belts in either. I got to bolt the front seat belts in, and I got to put this trim in. So I'm back to debating about these doors again, and I think the decision I've come up with is that everything, almost everything about these doors is going to have to wait. Obviously, if you haven't seen before, they're all pretty much like this, and really the whole shell needs replaced. A full set of shells for this thing is probably like $1,000, which would be really nice, but it's not in my budget for either money or time right now. And as nice as that would be, it's just gonna have to wait. So these door panels are going to be probably just left as they are. I'm just going to probably get off as much loose stuff as I can, and I'm going to replace these window crank handles, which I'll show you in a minute. You know, reseat things like this and get them taken care of, and I think I will. Can I do that without taking it apart? Probably not. We'll leave that and put this panel back on since it's off. I took it off to access the inside of the door. So these are the older style with the clear plastic and slightly different metal design. I'm not going to buy anything, and those are too hard to repair without risking the handles popping off again. So I went through my part stash, and I'm not a hoarder, but you know, I got a couple disassembled vehicles in the shed. And I found square body crank handles with everything you need to replace those, and these will match the ones in this truck. So if I take these off, I've got a set of 4, a complete set of 4 I can put on this truck, and they'll match. So I'm going to take all 4 crank handles off and replace them with the newer style, And then that will fix our broken crank handle problem. And when I have these off, then I'll see maybe if I can repair them and put them back in my part stash. I don't know, we'll take a look at that. But for the time being, to get this truck on the road, we're going to convert it to the newer style crank handle. So here's the handles that were on the truck. You can see they were made in China. That's probably why they broke. So these are aftermarket replacement units, and you can also tell by the shape of the clip, it's got really long legs there, but the original clips are more rounded and they have really short legs. These are the proper clips, and they had also put the clips on backwards, which made them really hard to remove. I don't know, I've said this before, but if you put them on this way, this is the way they're supposed to be on. When you press this in, it can go tight and spread the clip. If you put them on backwards, there's these little indentations there that prevent you from spreading the clip, so you can't press it this way and get it fully spread, even though it seems like that's the way you should do it because it's easier to access from that way. There's actually a special tool that is made to remove these clips. So this goes in here and you can access this and pull the clip off like this, pull it back to remove the clip if you don't want to spread it. So you can tell these are original handles they still have the GM part numbers on them. And these are the good high quality ones you want. Even the chrome is better. You can tell these are older, but the chrome has lasted a lot longer because these are just cheap knockoffs. And these are factory. You know, they're a little bit pitted and everything, but they're still in fantastic shape. I'm going to brush these panels up a little bit, try to get some loose stuff off. Kind of try to fix that. And any loose things like that. And then at least our door panels will be solid and intact. So I'll get on with that, and that's just turning bolts and cleaning and wiping and tightening some bolts up and screws up, and we will get back to you when I have something to show you. I got the door panels as good as they're going to be for now. Just got all the loose stuff off, cleaned it up, put on the nice new window handles. I did put on the metal trim. I don't know if I mentioned that before. And put in the front seat belts. I did clean them up as best I could, and you know, kind of lubed the rollers to get them back into nice smooth shape. And of course, you know, the rear, cleaned out the ashtrays because you got to have clean ashtrays, you know. Got the armrest nice and tight. Put this door panel back on, new window crank, and I decided to put the window cranks in the down position. I don't know why I just did. Usually I put them pointing forward. That doesn't matter, it's just aesthetics. Anyway, there's the interior so far. I'm waiting on the seat cover. I did find a matching seat cover for this, so I'm waiting on that to install that. And I'm doing some final patching on the seat. It won't look the best. Of course, it'll have seat cover on it, but all the foam will be held in place properly, and it won't want to squeeze out, you know, and deteriorate further. That's the main thing when I do something like this. I want the foam and everything to stay intact underneath so that it doesn't deteriorate further. That's the big thing. And same thing, cleaned up this door panel here. Kind of went over with a stiff brush to get all the loose paint off of these panels. More will come off with time. That's fine. It'll just make them easier to recover if we get to that point. What I'd really like to do is buy some of the new nice aftermarket door panels, but like I've said 100 times before, this truck really isn't worth it. Unfortunately, it's starting to look really nice inside. It's kind of a shame that, but underneath, you know, it's still Bondo and you know, patches underneath. So I won't feel bad about using this as a work truck, but it will be a nice, comfortable work truck inside when you're driving it. Probably one of the nicer work trucks I've had in a long time. Got a spot for the dog now with the crew cab, and I have a set of floor mats I want to put in here that I'll show you. So yes, I know they are tan and they don't match, but these are original GM RPO code B32 floor mats from an 88 Suburban. And no, Doug, it's not your Suburban. It was another 88 Suburban I had. And they're worn and they're old. And I think they're going to be just perfect for the factory look in a work truck. And best of all, in the back, it has these raised pieces to catch all the sand and everything that happens down here in the south. It just makes it a little bit quicker to clean because you can dump your floor mats out and that catches the majority of the sand and stuff. But yes, I know they're tan and they don't match, but I've had them sitting around here for a long time and I'm going to put them in this truck because they're in my way. I would love if they were blue. Ironically, I had a blue Suburban years ago, but it didn't have the B32 floor mats in it. So also put in the rearview mirror finally. So it's striking me now that I neglected to get a good picture of this seat before I stitched it back together with adhesive. I mean, you can imagine how they get, you know, the side falls down and the foam starts coming out. And anyway, my goal was to get everything back tucked into shape and everything so that, you know, when you sit on it, it won't squeeze out the side again and deteriorate further. So that was my goal, and that's what we've got here. New seat cover came. I'm going to put that on, and then interior will be done. So if you've watched this channel before or anything, you'll know I don't endorse anything, but these seat covers are very relatively cheap. They're like $50. And for what they are, they hold up tremendously well. I've had this one in my daily driver work truck for like 2 years, and it has been through the ringer. Like, I have not taken care of it in any way, shape, or form. And surprisingly, I mean, it's still like, if I took this thing off and put it in the washing machine or something, it would probably look like almost brand new. They're really great seat covers for the money, and the only beef I have with it is that on the passenger side, from sliding in and out, one of the straps, they have these sewn on straps, one of the straps broke off. But that's the only thing that has happened to it in all this time, and that's from, you know, when you slide your carcass in here without, you know, lifting up and sitting down, it drags the seat cover, you know. So overall, they're fantastic seat covers. I would recommend them if you're looking for a durable work truck seat cover. So that's it. Seat cover is on. Now we have matching seat covers. So I believe that's it for the interior on this. So that's it for the interior on this truck, on our 1978 square body crew cab GMC. That completes everything we're going to do to the truck itself, except for the bed. I had somebody ask about putting the old clip that was on this truck, the old front clip, onto the 86 truck. I did video that, and I'm still compiling the video for that and getting that together. This has been my priority for videoing, to try to get this, you know, keep some continuity on the channel so we don't skip around a little bit anyway. I have that video coming. It will be coming in the future, probably right after this truck is done. I will have that video ready, and it doesn't show in too much, you know, nuts and bolts detail, but it does show the things you need to do to get a 70s clip onto an 80s truck. So that will be coming in the future if you want to see it. You made it this far in the video. Thank you for watching so much. I appreciate you all very much for watching this. I appreciate any likes, subscribes. Always like, comments. I want to hear from people. And as always, thank you for watching.